hear me, everything?
Yeah,
You
you're
hear
a
it?
little. I can understand you fine. It's a little kind of like. I don't know how to put it, like bassy, I guess. But
Yeah.
it's definitely understandable and stuff like that. So you're all right.
Alright.
I do have the random stage switch set as well if yours isn't already selected. So if you just want some variety, we can kind of rotate through those.
Yeah, I'm thinking we'll just do some rotations. Alright.
Nice, nice. I felt like you definitely cleaned it up a little bit more, that third stock, not always falling into the habit of like using down smash on Miri and stuff, cleaning up a bit there. I do think there are times where, especially when you're at the ledge, where you're getting a little kind of like, you're overcomplicating the situation, right? So you'll be at the ledge, and you'll try and punish, instead of like drop down forward air, drop down rising forward air or something you attack, you try to do like a drop down rising nair or a drop down rising up air when I'm holding shield. And it's like those are weird options that are a lot more committal, where forward air is that good kind of get off me option. And I think when you're in disadvantage with someone like Rob, it's going to be a little awkward in those spots. So the goal is to like maintain it. Not to say you can't use those options. It's just if I'm sitting there waiting and I'm punishing them, you don't want to get away with that. Because at its core, I think Rob is at his best when he's just like doing the simple stuff, right? He's using down tilt, he's using nair, he's using his gyro, and then he's kind of working in those other tools when he gets a chance. So you'll down throw or up tilt into up air. You'll get, nair into side B, stuff like that. But it's like you have that kit that just makes it really obnoxious to be around, and in neutral it's really obnoxious because the gyro, because nair, because laser. And I think playing to those strengths is going to be really important for you, and then you can find ways to kind of add your own flair into it as you keep playing it. So just keep doing what you're doing, and then we'll adjust stuff as it goes.
Yeah, so are you saying like when I'm like hanging on ledge, I'm
Yeah.
just like really just making things a little more complicated than it should be?
Yeah, I think like when you're when you're at ledge, you don't want to like drop down rising up nair. Like that's not the like very seldom, I should say, because that is a move that has a lot of startup. Where something like forward air is going to be better for getting people off you. So it's something you have to think about mixing up, and you don't want to just throw it out just because you're like, oh, I want to hit him. Well, if you want to hit me, go for something that's going to hit easier or more reliably. like landing up air, right? Like that's one of those kind of unique options that, yeah, it can pop me up or can do something, but it's not like a safe shield pressure tool, right? And that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, then you can fall and use the neutral air, or you can try empty hop. Like do a tomahawk grab where you just empty hop, jump, land, grab, or down tilt. And that's why sticking to those core tools, because that is your shield pressure game, right? Because up close, Rob doesn't want to be hitting with, jab on shielded stuff or falling up air or things like that, because it just leaves him so vulnerable. And if you're unsure, you can try and retreat and do stuff like that. There was times where on that last stock in the beginning, you'd hit and I'd kind of be around you, and then you try and swing with an air or something and land, instead of just going like, okay, I can't really hit him. I don't have to go in here. I can try and land, sure, and maybe cover myself with that neutral air because it's really hard to punish. But after I land, let's not try and like immediately go swing at him again or something. Let's instead see what he's going to do, maybe play a little bit more reactionary, and then try and reset that neutral, right? Go back to using your gyro, go back to using laser, stuff like that, setting up those layers to your pressure, essentially.
Like right after like landing back on stage, just like actually be like reaction, like what you just said, and like seeing what you're gonna do instead.
Yeah, yeah. You want to give yourself the ability to kind of like or acknowledge what I'm doing, because if you're always trying to go off like reads and guesses and stuff like that, you're gonna leave yourself a lot more open than you need to be. And that's not to say that you can't do those. It's just there's times where it's like, do I really need to try and guess here when I can just wait? Maybe drift away, DI away, or something, and then react. Like, you see how I just jump away here and I reset. I'm like, no, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to try and land on you. Okay. Nice. So there it felt like you were playing a little bit more reactionary in certain instances. It wasn't perfect, right? But you're not always going to be perfect. And when you do make those mistakes where maybe you don't pick the right option, even if you do it, you go, okay, I messed up there. Like there was one example where we were in the middle. You waited a little bit. You know, I was holding shield and neutral and you ran in and down tilted. Well, you could have tried and grabbed, right? Then you put me in disadvantage a different way, and that beats shield. If I'm sitting there giving you that information, sure, down tilt does hypothetically beat if I try and drop shield or if I try to attack or something like that. But if I'm not giving you any reason to think that, unless I'm perfectly mixing it up or like reacting on my end, which is difficult to do online, you can just come in and do that. But I liked what you did towards the end there, where you just waited kind of almost at like a ledge roll distance, right? And you were like, hey, I'm just going to make it really awkward for you to get back. I've got my tools to hit you here. Then you ended up intercepting me and catching me, and that was really good. One of the big things I'm noticing though is I feel like you don't get a ton of like big conversions with your character. You can, you know, you just end up like getting a couple straight hits and then nothing big. So I don't know if you're just not super familiar with hitting things, maybe into side B or up airs or stuff like that, but that's something else to keep in mind. Just working on kind of the consistency of that so you're making the most out of those hits. That was my fault. So I want to hear your thoughts that game, and I want you to tell me what you felt like you were struggling with the most, and then we can kind of compare and contrast, all right?
like really just like getting like a solid hit in and like really pushing the advantage, not what like being like off stage and at ledge,
So
especially
you
with that with the first song that I like once again overcomplicated how things could have gone.
yeah.
It was just
So
unfortunately led to an SD.
when you're in the game, do you find yourself actively kind of recognizing these things where you're like, okay, I'm at the ledge and I'm doing this, or do you think you kind of almost like I don't want to say autopilot, but kind of just get in the motions and do your thing, and then maybe later on you'll recognize, okay, I shouldn't have done that. But in that moment, you're not really giving it the thought you should. Where are you in that regard?
Yeah, I feel like as the game progresses, then I really like start actively seeing things, and then I start actually remembering and executing. While like the first or like even the like second stocks, I'm like
Okay,
just
so
like going how it's going.
but off the bat, like usually when it starts, you're maybe a little too kind of just focused on almost like the muscle memory of going through the motions. You're not really paying attention to those things.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I want to do is in this next game, because that's a lot of what I felt like it was as well, where you're kind of just getting in there, because it's not like you don't know what to do or you can't solve it, but it's like you're not even giving yourself the chance to, because you are mixing things up, and I felt like towards the end of that game you were a lot more kind of hesitant. Granted, you were at kill percent for a while, but you're like, okay, I don't want to come in here. I want to try to mix it up. I want to try to not be near him, right? And I want you to try and go into this next game with that same thought, acknowledging those mistakes as they happen. You know, I want you can go in with your game plan, but let's say you do another one of those like landing up airs, right? Where it hits my shield and you get punished, you go, okay, don't landing up air there. Maybe next time I'll land the neutral air because it's super hard to punish. It creates that mix up because he can't punish it outright if I do it right. You could even try the tomahawk grab, things like that, right? I noticed you're back throwing me a lot, back and forth throwing me off stage. Okay, if you're not getting those, maybe go for down throw and then try and read what I'm going to do out of there. Punish that, right? Just acknowledge those mistakes as they're going through right out the gate. And then that's going to help you kind of train yourself, because what your biggest issue is right now is that you just struggle to kind of stay mentally checked in while you're playing, which is a common issue a lot of players have until they've like kind of learned that skill set. And that's going to like bleed into all aspects of your gameplay. Nice. close, honestly. I thought that was really good. Even right out the gate, it felt like you were kind of much more like giving every interaction thought using the Z drop nairs, right? The regrab. And in those interactions, it felt like you were just a lot more in control of what you were doing. And I recognized, like, or I saw that you would, like, you got hit up and you went high and you tried to mix up your recovery and you weren't just kind of, like, going through trying to force yourself back in. And I think that helped a lot. You noticed you got hit one time, so then you got to nair out earlier next time, stuff like that, and it helped a ton. The big thing where I feel like you kind of shut down or kind of regressed a little bit was when we were in that, when you were in disadvantage and or I was really pressuring you. It felt like you would kind of just like lock up almost and just start, I don't want to say mashing, but kind of just like, oh no, I have to get him off me, I have to get him off me, and panicking, right? But if you can still maintain that same type of like, okay, let me really digest what's going on in the game, as you're doing in neutral, as you're doing in your advantage. In disadvantage, it's going to make a world difference. Rob does, you know, have a bit of a rough disadvantage in some ways because he's big, because he's combo food and stuff like that. But if you can still recognize, okay, I am going to take a certain amount of hits here, it's going to be hard, but it's not the end of the world, and that's the important thing. And especially when we're playing, right? Like, it's okay for you to be wrong here. That's the point of it, so we can call it out and we can make those adjustments. So what you're doing that game, I think mentally was fantastic, and I want you to keep trying it this next game. And as you're going through and as you're acknowledging those mistakes, that's when you can kind of go, all right, what should I do next time? What can I do there? And if we're in a scenario and you're like, oh, you know, what do you recommend here? You're more than welcome to ask me. But it's one of those things where just kind of you have to just think at all times, as I guess simple as it sounds. A lot of players don't give themselves that luxury.
Got you. So it's like just more of
What's up?
like yeah, just as you're saying, just more actively thinking.
It's
Yeah.
kind of one of those things where it's a little hard to, like, you have to really make an effort to do it, but it doesn't, like, it's almost like you have to slow down a little bit to give all that extra thought, but then you retrain yourself to get back into the groove of things, and it becomes a lot easier.
3, 2, 1, go!
That was so good. That was an amazing stuff. so good, right? Just capitalizing. That game was an entirely different player than when we first started, right? Even though you didn't have every single thing perfectly planned out or optimized, it was so much more deliberate in what you were doing, especially your advantage state. Like, you hadn't had another game where you were so consistent with what you were doing, just playing to the strengths, right?
Yeah.
And that's the important thing. So I'm going to swap up my character, right? I want to keep you on your toes, and I want you to just keep doing that exact type of, like, processing you're doing. I'm not going to go Olimar just yet, but I will towards the end for the last little bit.
Three, two, one, go!
Oh. Let me rehost. That was weird. You there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, just making sure the Discord call's still there too. My...
It just, I guess it was you.
I mean, my internet seems to be fine. I'm gonna restart my game real quick because it's having taken a second to connect to the internet.
Station. Server's down, or everything seems good on my end.
Yeah, it's. I'm restarting now. Try to connect it online. It's just maybe there's a weird hiccup essentially. So no worries. We'll just rehost the room. I'm getting it up right now. I'll send you the info.
Step into the ring.
Did I send it? Alright, should be good now.
One, go!
Nice. I'm surprised I didn't hit you. Got a little bit of a regular get up habit so far this game, but it's something I have to keep in mind. If I actually am going to go Olimar, I'm just making a little too many errors with my Lucina for my taste. Probably a little bit rusty. But yeah, so like we were saying earlier, or like I was saying earlier, I think you've done a really good job of kind of getting more mindful of those interaction basis. But the big things that I still think you can improve on are one, mixing up your ledge options. Like I was saying, you have that little bit of a neutral get up habit, and that can be really kind of dangerous against characters that know what they're doing, or characters that are more lethal. Like when I'm gonna go Olimar now, it's probably gonna be a lot more streamlined in what I'm doing, but also working on those conversions. Your edge guards have been really solid, right? You're getting those, you know, hit, rinse, and repeat. I run out of options, but there's still not a lot of times where you're getting good combos. And I think that is something there where we could try and pick that up a little bit and just be a little bit more mindful of that. You know, landing your nair, because I've seen you do them scarcely, so you know how to do them. It's just you're not finding a lot of opportunities for them. Just being mindful of when you're swinging, like, okay, this is gonna sit into this way, or okay, this isn't gonna work there, but where are they gonna land? And you know, even if it's not a direct combo, trying to make it like a longer advantage state per se.
Gotcha. How did this damage happen? Dude,
What's up?
how did this damage happen? I've never played against an Olimar before.
It's a lot of different things. Side B damage is pretty good. It'll help rack up. And Olimar just hits really hard, especially with things like purples. And he can combo out of a lot of stuff. So I'll be doing like up smash combos into multiple aerials. Like right there, the whites are ticking for 5%. You get jab block forward smash, whites ticking. You're at 60 now. You always want to DI down throw out with Olimar.
Down and out?
Yeah, down or up and out or down and out. It doesn't really matter as long as it's out, because you don't want to get caught by like a down throw raw bear like that and then die. And since I grabbed it like a purple, like it didn't even have to kill throw knockback like blue might have. So that was like an example of someone where I'm much more lethal with my combos. I'm much more practiced, and you saw like it's dangerous.
Yes.
But a big thing, what you want to do is like, so in a matchup like Olimar, where you're fighting him, you'd be, okay, what are Olimar's weaknesses? Well, his out of shield game is a little bit more limited than a lot of other characters due to his frame data, or his Pikmin might die on startup. So if I like parry your neutral air, right, and I up smash, my Pikmin have a risk of dying on startup unless it's a red, which they're immune to the fire damage. The other ones can die if their health is low enough. Another thing is my disadvantage is really poor. So what you can do is try to keep me off stage, keep me in the air, and just juggle me over and over again, and make it awkward. So by going back to the shield pressure thing, since I have medium-ish out of shield options, those neutral airs, those down tilts, they're going to be super potent on pressuring me. So really getting in there and going, you know what, I'm coming in with a neutral air. That's going to clank with any of your smashes and win. Sure, it'll lose to aerials, but I can't punish Rob Nair without parrying it. If not, it's a mix-up, right? I have to guess what you're going to do next. I can't punish down tilt very reliably at all. So trying to play to those strengths and going, okay, Olimar's weak here. But if I go for like a long-range, slower-paced neutral, Olimar's probably going to win that just because I get more chip damage. My purples are kind of broken relative to things like a gyro, where your gyro is super powerful in certain scenarios, but purples are broken everywhere. They're just super good at controlling the pace. And it's funny that you mentioned how I play Epic Gabriel, so often. One of the things that he did that I think was infinitely better than every other Rob is he would abuse his frame data so well. He would say, you know what, I recognize that Rob is a very powerful character who can really put out strong shield pressure and make it super obnoxious, so I'm going to lay that down on you very well. And then he would, combo that into side B, or put me off stage and he'd read into a side B, but he would not, like, let up with that pressure, and it would make it super frustrating to fight. But don't feel bad if you're getting kind of messed up by the Olimar. If you're not familiar with him, there's a lot of like learning you have to do with this character because he's got so many things you just wouldn't expect.
And the only Olimar experience I really played was a Piglock, and that was like
Okay.
2 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a minute. What area of Florida are you in?
South Florida.
Okay.
So it's like right next to the Brevard County.
Yeah. There's that regular get up habit, remember? Good day on that down throw.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
That's an actual thing.
Yeah.
Not that it just happens by accident.
No. It's a very much an intentional thing when I do it. There's a lot of different ways you can set it up. It's like right there. I up smashed out a shield. It killed my yellow because it doesn't have enough health to tank a neutral air. And that's one of those things where you be like, okay, he has the wrong color. He can't do this here. I can try and abuse that and type of stuff. And that's something you'll get at, with more practice against Olimar. Be like, okay, I'm watching his lineup better and stuff like that. But that's what I'm talking about when I'm about like playing his weaknesses and really punishing for having those flaws. So that was quite a bit better than the first game, even if, there's still some stuff you're not super familiar with. I think you were doing your DI better, studying those habits, but it's a lot to do, so you're going to have to, like, think about every little interaction. Every time you get caught, you're like, how am I DIing this? How am I doing this? But that game especially, your pressuring was a bit better. You're utilizing your kind of up-close game, right? You're saying, you know what, I can fight you. I've got some frame data myself. I don't have to just let you throw stuff at me the entire game. And I think that was important. And when you're going to any matchup, it's one of those things where you got to be like, all right, what character am I fighting? What are their weaknesses? How can I use that? Or what are Rob's kind of strengths and weaknesses here? How do I play around them or play to them, right? So you're not just letting yourself, you're not going into that autopilot where you're just doing the same thing in every matchup. It's going to change drastically depending on who you fight. You know, if you fight a Bayonetta compared to like a Little Mac, it's going to be totally different. So, I want to do it again, kind of like we were doing with the Wolf. I want to ask you, like, how are you feeling kind of mentally with it all? Like, in that game, what do you feel like you're personally struggling with? Obviously, there's going to be some of that Olimar stuff like we talked about, but I want to hear where you are in that.
Here, I feel like it's more like you understand like what what Olimar does, what's like mostly what's their strength, and like me seeing it and like seeing like how like on Shield you don't really have much besides just like the up smash, but
Yeah.
uh, more me like understanding the character.
Okay. Yeah. So there is that uh um unknown factor in there, right? So with Olimar, his up smash is kind of like pseudo safe on shield. It depends on the character. His back air and forward air pretty safe. Purple side B's pretty safe. So there is that unknown. You know, I'm no stranger to hitting up like ultimateframedata.com when I'm fighting a character I don't know, and I'm looking it up and I'm trying to piece together like, okay, what can they hit me with that I have to respect and what don't I have to respect, right? Like if I run up to you with Olimar and I down tilt you, my down tilt is minus 17. You don't have to respect that. You get hit on a shield and you're like, cool, here's my free punish, right? If I up smash your shield, you could probably grab it. I believe Rob's grab is frame 6. So you can punish that. So it's identifying those things. So when we are fighting, and I do hit you with, you know, up smash on shield, you can try and punish it. You know, you need to trial and error those things. Either with, you know, when I'm here, I can tell you, yeah, you can shield grab up smash, or you can shield grab that, or you can do whatever there, or forward air it out of shield. But when you're fighting other people and you're trying to learn these things on the fly, especially in tournament, you have to kind of let yourself attempt those things and go, all right, let's make like a little check mark. Like, did that work? No. Go on to the next thing. Did that work? Yes. All right, it sticks. I can keep that in my mind as like an option to deal with it. And that's going to help kind of accelerate that process of learning. And that's going to feed back into that kind of heightened awareness level of gameplay that we were working on earlier, where it's like, if you're thinking about all these interactions, when you make a mistake or when you don't know, you're going to actively try and problem solve instead of just going, all right, I don't know, guess I'll figure it out later or something, right? and making an honest effort to do it is going to make it a lot easier. But no, after this game, I'll give like a more kind of touchdown on some things I'm noticing from general like player habits and stuff that I want you to work on moving forward and all that. I like that empty up throw. That was good. Like right there, you probably could have up thrown me. You could have down thrown, like the forward throw. That's not getting anything. You're putting me off stage, and I guess you got a kill, but it's like you're complicating it.
Yeah.
Especially with a character like Olimar, who's got a pretty generous recovery. Oh my god. The Pikmin can block the gyro and item pulses, so that's one of those things. It's like a little thing where you go, okay, I didn't recognize that, or I didn't think it was going to happen, or I didn't know. So now you go, all right, next time I got to be a little bit more mindful. They won't always block it, right? The Pikmin latch onto different quadrants of your body. So depending on where they are is how they interact. Like right there was on your front face, like front half, top half, so they block the gyro toss. But some general things I'm noticing are, I feel like your disadvantage is a bit linear at the ledge, right? Like off stage you might mix it up a little bit, but when you're at the ledge you tend to kind of funnel yourself back into the same few options. You'll mix it up every now and then, but I feel like when you're getting when the pressure's really on or you're at a higher percent, you tend to kind of just keep it overly simple in a bad way, where you're like, I'm just gonna regularly get up, I'm just gonna regularly get up, I'm just gonna do the same thing over and over and over again. And sometimes even like a little bit of patience to the ledge, right? Like wait a second and then do the option. Changing up that timing can throw off your opponent who's trying to like roll react, because it's so hard to react to things like that, if not impossible in some cases. An additional thing as well is since you've kind of started being more thoughtful of your interactions, it's helped pretty much every aspect of your gameplay, even your disadvantage. But in the neutral, I feel like sometimes you kind of also get into a little bit of a linearity, where it's just you throw gyro, maybe you run up down tilt, maybe you run up there. And there are times when you're mixing in those grabs, and they usually catch me. And I think being a little bit more welcome to do that, maybe even like running up and, you know, if I jump, you jump forward air me, right? Call me out there. You have different ways to intercept me. It doesn't always have to be the big three. Those can be like the basis for it, sure. And they're going to be strong, but adding in a little bit more mix up there with like, all right, I anti-aired you with a forward tilt. I remember watching Zachary at a tournament. I think it was SmashCon a couple years ago. And he's fighting Leo, and he kept like angle up F tilting to intercept him, and I was like, that's wild. But just like little ways to find those openings, right? That's gonna help a lot. So let's do one more game, and then we'll try and wrap it up there. But just think about the stuff I was talking about. Really think about those options. Don't let yourself kind of just get into a panic mode. If you're panicked, just think about what you're doing. If you're wrong, it's okay. We can discuss what happened there.
3, 2, 1, go!
Nice. Really good mix up on the timing there. No, out of fuel. The game was super close though. There was a couple times I was like, alright, I gotta really focus on not getting hit by like the side B and stuff there. And Olimar, as the character, you saw like that second stock. I can just take you 0 to kill percent almost instantly, because of the way I'm able to combo off of my certain things, land double hit down smash, just do a ton of damage. So this is a matchup that I consider extremely volatile, just because we can both kind of blow each other up at any moment. But I think you were mixing those things up pretty well. I like that. I like the little delay on the ledge you did at 140, and you ended up getting down tilted. I respect the attempt for it. It just ended up not working out because I was going for that option. You know, you could have waited a second and then get up attacked, right, and tried to invincibility through my down tilt and hit me. But the attempt there was fine, right? And that's one thing where you recognize, you go, okay, I got there. Maybe I waited a little bit too long, or I should have picked option. Doesn't mean it doesn't work. It's just, where did it go wrong specifically? But overall, I think that was really good. Just when you're moving forward, practicing, you know, or doing tournaments or whatever, the biggest thing out of all this is that you need to keep practicing that, like, mindfulness and being able to acknowledge those mistakes as you're doing them. Because if you kind of leave this and then maybe 2-3 days later you start playing again and you slip back into that autopilot, almost like tunnel vision, where you're not really identifying what's happening in the game, the quality of your play is going to decrease, and it's going to make acknowledging and adapting infinitely harder because you're not even giving yourself the ability to do it. So you need to keep, like, you know, having that kind of conversation with yourself in your head and going, okay, where did I make the mistake here? Or what did my opponent do, right? And identify those, whether it be a neutral or advantage. Like, there was a moment in that last game where I was off stage and you went out there and I ended up, like, dodging your attack and I back aired you, and then I just got percent. It's like, well, you could have been like, all right, why didn't you do that? What if I just set gyro with the ledge and I go to ledge trap? That's a very effective thing. Olimar's still in disadvantage. Sure, he's at the ledge, but gyro at the ledge is one of the strongest things out there in terms of pressure. So you can just play to that strength instead and not need to make that risk where you're off stage, right? Identify where that mistake was made, come up with an alternative solution. But you have to keep kind of holding yourself accountable in that regard. Other than that, just kind of watch your general habits in disadvantage, I think. Try not to, like, kind of get panicky and start just mashing things. It helps when I'm there to call it out, but when I'm not, same thing. You gotta be like, you know, you might slip into it every now and then, but maybe after the fact, after the game, after the stock, be like, oh no, I kind of panicked, I shouldn't have done that. Next time I'll be a little bit more patient, or I'll be a little bit more open and minded to other options as to what I can do. Do you have any questions though?
Say the line.
Wait, say that one more time.
Say the line.
You bitch call me Myron?
All right, I'm good.
Alrighty, man. I'll let you know when the lesson's uploaded and I'll send it your way.
All right,
All
thank
right,
you so
no
much.
problem.
Man.
Have a good day.
You too.